Well, hello there. This is Alexa Fisher. It is me. How are you? Happy Friday. So, this is a Google Hangout, which is pretty remarkable when you think about your ability as an individual in your home or office, wherever in the world, to actually sit and broadcast yourself. It's crazy. But here we are. And I think that actually is completely appropriate in terms of your power as an individual to be a messenger with whatever message floats your boat. And I have created many, many comprehensive courses, but my signature course is called How to Create a 1,000-Watt Presence. And I want to take a moment today to really talk about what that means, a 1,000-watt presence. So for me, there is something that I imagine in my mind called light. Light, a light that is inside each of us. And everybody's born with the exact same amount of light, no matter who you are, no matter where in the world you were born. And it is what makes us so special. It is this magic energy about being human. And when you can connect to that light and access it and feel it and know it, there is a different, in a way, your life gets elevated. Now, but it can be a little bit overwhelming, right? Have you ever had that sensation that maybe you should be doing something different with your life, that maybe you could be, that there was this secret thing that you've always wanted to do, but you're not really sure how to do it? So that's a little bit what happens when you connect to that light. Now I'll give you my story, and if you're familiar with my work, that maybe you've heard me talk about it, but it is sort of my aha moment when I really connected to my light, and it wasn't exactly a pleasant experience. So my background is actually as a professional actress, and from the time that I was a little girl, I knew that I just loved people. I delighted in people. I thought it was fun to introduce myself to people as a little kid or to entertain people. And I naturally turned this love of people into a love of acting. Started to appear in the school plays. No, nothing, no big deal. I grew up on the East Coast, not in Los Angeles, where it can become a career as a young person. But it was something that really excited me and delighted me. Anyway, so but I also had this other part of me that was really almost a business person. I loved to learn, and I was a hard worker, always have been. And I come from a long line of business people, retailers and real estate and all kinds of interesting professions. But I wanted to take my acting interest very seriously, and I went to undergraduate and I went to graduate school for this. Yes, you can do that. And very quickly after I graduated, I found myself working as a professional actress. Now, mind you, at that time, I had spent, I mean, not just hours, but years dedicated to honing my craft. And I took it very seriously. I wasn't one of those actors who just hang out at the craft services table, which is basically the table where all the food is. And I would just, do small talk for hours. I was always curious about what the director was doing, the lights, the sound, the props, checking in with the producers. I mean, I just wanted to learn as much as possible. But as an actress, my role was pretty clearly defined. It was know your part, be really good at your part, be respectful and present, and do all that good stuff. But the work itself in television and film is there's a lot of downtime. There's a lot of waiting. And this started to feel more and more aggravating to me, more and more challenging and tiring and boring, which I can't stand that word boring. It's really hard for me when my kids use that word. I'm bored. Anyway, so I had this epiphany. I was on the TV show Bones. This is a true story, so maybe you've heard me talk about it before, but it's true. I was playing a lawyer on Bones, and something bad had happened to my character. And I had this fake blood coming out of my mouth as I was laying on the floor of the dirty building where we were shooting this episode. And I was waiting for the lights, and I was waiting for the sound, and I was waiting for the other actors. And I thought to myself in that moment, what have I done? What have I done? Because I knew there was this gap, right? There was this gap between what I wanted and what I imagined this career to be and what the reality of it was. And that I knew, because I was somehow connected to this light, that I was put on this planet to do something more. But I didn't know. I didn't know. I didn't know how to do that and what that was and who I should turn to and who I should learn from. And it was really stressing me out. Now, as luck would have it, in that really kind of dark and challenging moment for me emotionally, I was fortunate enough to get a phone call 4 days later from a dear friend who's still a close friend and mentor of mine. And she asked me to, if I would be interested in doing some media training for a client of hers that was having a big speaking engagement and wanted to be a more effective speaker. And she thought, you know what, you would be great at this. You should totally do this. So I was like, yes. And instantly my mind started churning and I started to really get excited about what is that methodology? How could I put everything that I know as an actress and all of my interests in terms of business and people, my love of people, and really teach people how to be the best versions of themselves? Because let me ask you, do you have those moments where you're flipping through magazines or you're watching TV or you're checking out Facebook and you have this part of you where you're looking at somebody, a celebrity, or maybe a friend that sort of is like having breakout success, or someone that you're learning from that you think, how did they do that? And you sort of see them up there, but you simultaneously start to feel worse and worse and worse about yourself. I mean, we've all been there, right? And a dear friend of mine told me a phrase one time that really resonated with me, and it was compare and despair. Yes, compare and despair, meaning that it is so painful internally for you to falsely put people up on a pedestal while simultaneously putting yourself down. That one act is completely draining you of your energy. So for me, I started to get deeply curious about what my true purpose was, what my true calling was. And for me, it was about helping people, really, really helping people. And how could I help them connect to that light? Because it's there right now, watching this. It's there. You have it. You absolutely have it. But you do need to identify what is blocking you from feeling it, from accessing it. And so for me, that is where you have to really look at your own individual fears and insecurities. These are the things that we all have. Every single one of us has them. And it doesn't matter if if you're very, very successful, you just have a different set of fears and insecurities. If you have a ton of money, you have a different set of fears and insecurities. With all this power and money, are you going to lose it? If you don't have it, how am I going to get it? How am I going to pay my bills? If you're in a job that is upsetting you, how do you oh, it's getting a little bit noisy around here. Let's see if that goes away. How do you stop and just bring your awareness to what are those sneaky, pesky, negative thoughts that are blocking your ability to connect? Because that's what it is. It's just this little crusty, dark, kind of icky coating on your light. So in my work, when I coach people, and just to that note, what exactly is that I do? For the most part, people come to me because they want to be an effective communicator. They want to speak with ease and confidence. They want to command the stage. They want to nail that presentation. They want to really be able to speak about their new book on the Today Show with effortless ease. That's what I teach. But the secret to what I actually teach, if I must tell you, is to help them, number one, identify those pesky negative thoughts that have been holding them back, those ideas of really that block them, so that they can release them. And in some cases, it's through energy psychology techniques. It's through really simple exercises to help get them out of their way so that they can start to experience and reconnect with their true calling. So that's the second piece of what I do, is really stop and say, why? What do you really want? Because when I was lying down on that dirty floor shooting that television show, and by all rights, I should have been saying, wow, this is awesome. Everything is going really, really well. Like I've got a, guest star on this television show here in America. This is great. But the bigger thing for me was, whoa, there's something missing. And that recognition of that and that realization of that really started stirring up my soul to ask bigger questions, more meaningful questions. So that was for me the first step, the first step. So when I'm working with clients and then when I'm teaching my classes, and especially in my signature course, How to Create a 1,000-Watt Presence, it's about stepping back and allowing yourself the freedom to ask yourself that question. If you could have anything that you want in this world, anything at all, how do you, what do you want? What do you really, really want? So if you're watching this, whether it's live or if you're watching this later on, give yourself that delicious time for yourself. Put it in your calendar. Get quiet. Have a great cup of tea with you. Give yourself the space to dream, to really close your eyes and imagine a point in the future in which like everything was happening perfectly, just the way you see it. Give yourself the freedom to really ask yourself that question, what do I want? What do I really, really want? Because I believe that all of us know that. Have you ever had that experience where you ask a question, but the truth is you actually know the answer? And sometimes you need somebody to just encourage you to connect with the answer that you really already know. I believe that we all know that answer inside of us. And sometimes we need to watch other people. I mean, honestly, I get Richard Branson's posts all the time in my Google Plus page. And by the way, if we're not connected on Google Plus, connect with me. If you're watching this, I'm sure that's a very easy technological thing for you to do. But I always watch his posts because I say to myself, man, that individual has created so many businesses that make people happy. And when I see him, he always looks so happy. He is a role model for me in terms of the influence and the power that you can have to both build successful businesses, empower people, create products that people enjoy. I practically always fly on Virgin if I can for my air travel. And yet I watch him create products that for charitable initiatives. I watch him empower people in his workforce. Find your role models out there who are doing what you want to be doing. So easy. And instead of judging yourself or comparing yourself in that, forget about it. Don't compare yourself to that. Use it as a way to, when you put yourself down, no, use it as a way to inspire you to say, hey, man, this is not a big deal. There are other people out there doing what I want to do. Cool. What a roadmap. Fabulous. And if there's an area that you feel insecure, man, dive deep in that. Dive deep into the insecurity. And by doing so, you just get curious. So instead of being fearful, change fear to curiosity. Fear puts you in this sort of place of camp negative. Curiosity is a positive thing. Curiosity is like an excitement. It drives the question to a hopeful answer. So when I'm feeling insecure about, man, how do I start my webinar? Or how do I start a podcast? Or I get overwhelmed with every time I hear there's a new social media platform and I think, whoa, do I have to do that too? Instead, I just get curious. I don't let the habitual negative thought of overwhelm or, another activity for me to do shut me down. I get curious. And then I can take a beat and then decide, is this for me or it's not for me? So number one, I always say, figure out where those limiting thoughts are. What are the fears? What are the insecurities? Identify them. That's where I start in my program with my clients. The next biggest question, number two, is your why. Find your why. And that will help inform the three, which is taking action. It's figuring out, once you know your why, how do you talk about it? And I think this is the craziest part of becoming an influencer online or in life or in your business or in your family. It's the action part. Everything happens because you take action. And that action has to be fueled by you. So, yes, in online learning, you want to have the ability to use apps and websites and programs and things to optimize this and that and video. And you want all these external things. You have to build the car. But guess who's driving the car? You. It's you. You and your message. You talking with people in live situations like networking events and family reunions and strangers on an airplane, you having the ability to talk about yourself and your work. And that extends out to not just talking about you and your work and what you do, but you really truly your ability to connect with somebody. For you to have the ability to just be able to walk into a room and be comfortable in your own skin. For you to have the courage to start telling people, hey, you know what I'm really curious about these days? I'm really amazed by fill in the blank, and the courage to just talk about it. Because you taking action from wanting to do the thing you've always been doing, it requires your ability to articulate it, and to articulate it in person, to maybe articulate it in a sales pitch. So to physically a presentation, making a PowerPoint actually dynamic instead of boring and filled with facts and figures and text and the things that actually don't work well in PowerPoint. To your ability to command the stage, to someday imagine yourself delivering a TED Talk. There's that too. To finally being able to communicate on video. I'm so proud that, one of the things that people do come to me for over and over again, especially entrepreneurs, is your ability to share your message online on camera. So it can be doing a live Google Hangout like I'm doing right now, which can also live online and help drive people to your business, but also your ability to make video blog posts, to be able to have interviews online, which more and more you're seeing news organizations do and other platforms, Huffington Post. I'm sure there's plenty of others around the world that are doing the same thing. But truly, it empowers you to be the broadcaster. So no longer are these impossible barriers to communicating your message. You actually have the ability to do it all on your own. What a responsibility and what an opportunity. So I've taught plenty of people how to get very comfortable and confident on camera. Now, I did get a question earlier, and it was specifically about YouTube. So I want to take a little moment here to address that fantastic question. And it was about thumbnails. So I don't know if anyone's created YouTube videos, and you ever have that moment where YouTube graciously gives you 3 options to change your thumbnail, but sometimes they're crazy images, right? So you're like, yeah, I don't want that one, and I don't want this one, and I don't want that one, because at the end of the day, we're all a little vain and we want to look good, especially if we're promoting ourselves or our business. So I want to talk about that a little bit, because in this question, there was actually a lot of different aspects to it that all make sense. On a technical note, on the show notes to this Google broadcast, as soon as it's completed, I will send you a couple of links, because Google doesn't want you to look silly either. They want it to be easy for you, but they also want to make sure that you do a couple of different processes to make sure that you can customize your thumbnail. One of them is to verify your account. So I'm going to give you some links that Google provides, and actually another resource that I found online, so that Google wants to make sure that you are an account in good standing, which means that you're not breaking any of their practices, especially as it relates to licensed content, and that includes music. So you have to verify your account to make sure that you're not a little bot out there, a little robot, a non-human internet thing. And so there's very simple ways to verify your account. And once you do, you can then create custom thumbnails. But the interesting thing about this question was, if that wasn't a possibility, technically, she wanted to know, How do you ensure that you don't make crazy faces while you're speaking on camera? Now, I have a confession to you. I make crazy faces all the time on YouTube, on video, all the time. And in fact, it was actually a running joke because I was sitting with my programmer one day and we were creating a video post for an upcoming sales promotion. And to do it really quickly, we were just sort of just choosing a frame to set that frame as the new thumbnail. And we were clicking through and we called it thumbnail roulette so that you could just play it and then hit it in random spots. And I kid you not, this is what I look like. The, the truth is, I was a crazy lady. Every frame that I chose, I was making some weird face. So if I'm talking right now and I'm like going like this, not a great thumbnail. But my whole teaching is about you being you. You don't have to be like me, but getting to a place where you are more invested in the people that you are talking with on the other side of that lens than being hyper aware of yourself. So her question was about, do you need to sort of speak in a way that no matter what thumbnail image Google picked randomly, you would always look good? Like you would always be smiling and very poised. But that's not how we speak. That's not how people feel relatable to you. And you want to make that connection. I am not thinking about my face and my hands and my hair and my whatever, and I'm itching my nose and doing a little this from time to time because I'm more connected to you. Who's watching right now, who's watching in the future, doesn't matter. So the way that I work is that once you're connected to that light, the truth is it's not just for you to feel confident and comfortable and successful and happy. It's because that through you, you get to change lives. Cool. It could be as simple as smiling at somebody and when you open the door for somebody, when you're walking into a building, saying hello to a stranger in an elevator, just being kind and present to the people and your family in your life. It's the simple things, but when you get out of your head and you make it not about you, you can be in service and in flow to that light, to that energy. It's really, really awesome. So I want to invite you watching this, listening to this, to really stop and get clear about what is your thing, and how can your thing make a difference in the world and help somebody, make them feel better, improve their lives, give them knowledge to make their business easier or themselves happier or healthier or more fit or more connected or whatever your thing is. And then do the work. And this is the big one, right? Because it all sounds fun. We listen to podcasts, we read books, we go to seminars. We're in the personal development space. You have to be if you're watching this, right? You have to be in the personal development space and professional development space, which is amazing. Fabulous way to put your energy. But the real magic happens when you take action, when you get really curious with yourself about what can you learn to make your life more effective, happier, easier, more successful, make more money, increase your impact. But it's really about preparation. I just came off of a few days of really, really intensely working with a handful of corporate clients. And it was a really wonderful experience, but it was phenomenally exciting to me when I helped a team of individuals prepare for really important presentations. And it did begin with their why and overcoming their fears and insecurities. I collaborated with my colleague, Dr. Daphna Slonim, who is really just a genius in the realm of energy psychology techniques. She's written a book called The First Key: How to Remove Subconscious Sabotage. It is absolutely revolutionary. I'll include links to her work in the show notes. But she and I began this journey with this group of individuals with really identifying and releasing their obstacles to public speaking and delivering their message. And then we took that work one step further. And I help them really articulate what their slide presentations would be, the impact that it would have. And we reverse engineered it to make sure that they had enough time to do the work. It's a process. It's not like you can just listen and then hope that the information sort of settles in somewhere in your body. And then when it's go time, you're going to wing it. Winging it is like the death to preparation, the death to success. Because even though I can't tell you that I absolutely wrote down every point that I wanted to make in this Google Hangout, I didn't. But I've earned the right to show up and be present because I have done so much preparation in the past. So when you are learning something new, like creating videos or writing new content or even articulating, how do I nail my elevator pitch? How do I answer that question? So what do you do in a way that is so easy that I actually want to show up and connect with people at networking events? You have to do the work. Now, the cool thing is doing, quote, the work isn't a big mystery. There are people like me who have created programs, online programs that you can access on any device at any time that walks you through a simple methodology. We've done the work so that you don't have to. You get to show up and be a student and be a beginner. You know, I was just telling somebody, well, I was telling a few people recently, but I was actually telling my sensei. So here, I was telling him last night. So here's what I mean. I have two little boys, and about a year ago, maybe 10 months, I don't totally recall, they signed up for karate classes. And we were so fortunate that friends recommended this dojo. And they said that the teacher is amazing. So we show up, and he is truly an amazing teacher with so much etiquette and so much passion for what he does. And it's not just about the moves. It's about a whole philosophy about being, or about respect for yourself and respect for others. So that's a little side point. But I was so enjoying watching the impact that it was having on my son's lives, and how much they were enjoying it both physically but mentally, that a few months after we began, he decided to offer an adults class. And I said, I want in. I want to do it. I think this would be amazing. It's a whole different way for me to work. And truthfully, I'm not a terribly athletic person. I'm not a terribly disciplined person when it comes to physical activity. And I wanted something that would really push me and get me out of my comfort zone and out of my head. But that was precisely what the genius was of doing something that you really have no idea how to do it. So much so that when I show up to karate, and I practice at least twice a week, when I walk into that room, I literally give myself permission to drop everything mentally. It's like my businesses don't exist. Even parenting in that moment doesn't exist. It's just a beginner's mind. And it requires so much of my focus, gentle focus, not intense focus, but gentle focus, to be so present so that I can learn the katas and the punches and the exercises, and to be present with all the things that they're throwing at you, because we do practice with black belts. So, and it's so liberating. It's so fantastic to be coached, to not have any inner judgment about, is this how to do it, or second guessing, or with not trusting the sort of methodology. No, I get to show up and be a beginner. I'm a white belt. And I had to earn my white belt, by the way. I had to earn it really hard to earn my white belt. And it continues to be such an invigorating and grounding experience. So if you are in a place where you are curious and you are learning and you are showing up in life and you want to do better, come with that beginner's mind. You can't both learn and judge at the same time. It's impossible. And this business of connection, it has everything to do with being present. And when you stop the chatter in your mind and the self-reflection and judgment while things are happening, that again is the connection to the light, the 1,000 watts that I talk about over and over again. So ironically, it's kind of much more simple than we make it. right? Much more simple. And that's the good news. So I challenge you today, if you're watching and you're listening, to really step back and get curious in the areas of your insecurity. Just be curious, invite them, tease them out to come and play. Your desire to improve, to share your message is so much stronger than any of those negative voices. You have way more power over them than they have over you. And that's the great news. So much more power. So take the time this week. That's the only call to action I'm going to give you. Take the time this week to tease out those negative thoughts. Put them down on paper. Write them out. Say hello to them. Bring them out from the dark recesses of your mind to put them on paper so that you can truly excel, so that you can truly see them for what they are, and then decide, can I reframe this? Can I release it? Because I'm telling you, you can. Choose the biggest and the baddest one, the one that really scares you the most, the one that's really that habitual thought that just stops you in your tracks all the time and zaps your energy. It's your personal kryptonite. Remember Superman and that kryptonite wiped him out every time? I want you to find the one that really zaps you and see if you can reframe it to something more positive. Just look it in the eye. Say, is this really real? I'll give you mine. One that I had over and over again was, I don't have enough time. I don't have enough time. I don't have enough time for social media. I don't have enough time to do this. I don't have enough time to get every kid's birthday present for the million parties that we have to go to. I don't have time to, but I don't have enough time. I don't have enough time. What a debilitating thought, right? What a debilitating thought. So I switched it to I have all the time in the world. I have all the time in the world. And even though sometimes I don't feel that that's my reality, when I sit down to respond to an email, to draft a sales pitch, to work with a client, to follow up with a client note, whatever it is, there's a part of me that says, I got all the time in the world, or I have all the time I need, or this is the perfect amount of time. I find the phrase that will empower me instead of drain my energy. It's such a simple adjustment. So if there is nothing else that you do this week, take the time to transform a thought. It's the first step in igniting your 1,000 watts. It's the first step in getting rid of those blocks that are blocking that light. I think with that, I'll leave it there. Now, of course, if you want more inspiration and ideas, there are loads of videos on my blog over at alexafisher.com. And I also have a 3-part free training series about creating a 1,000-watt presence. So I invite you to sign up for that as well. I go a little bit more into this exercise and then teach you exactly what to do to really empower yourself, to make a decision to be an influencer in this world. Because believe me, we need it. We need it now more than ever. So use your voice to make a difference and understand that there is only one you. You don't have to be anybody else. You don't have to copy anybody else. You don't have to work externally to talk a certain way or use your hands a certain way. It is, I'm inviting you to be you. Isn't that a relief? That's what my work is all about, is having you really anchored in that light. And then the rest is just literally a free expression of you. I delight in watching YouTube channels featuring people that speak with all different accents and mannerisms and different ages. I love it because that's what we're truly longing for. As people, we want to meet people who are free from self-judgment, from monitoring how they're behaving, from that insecurity. Doesn't matter what they look like. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how much money they make. It doesn't matter how big their company is. We just want to feel that connection. And that's what I teach. I hope you have a magnificent day and a magnificent week and a magnificent life. And if you want resources, then by all means, find me. I am here to help you. Okay, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. And I look forward to connecting with you soon. I'll put all the links on how to do that on every social media hoo-ha that suits your fancy. All right, my friend, shine on. I'm Alexa Fisher, and I'm wishing you all the best in the world. Ciao.